I'm Sarah Waddington. I'm the CEO of the PRCA, and it's great to be here today. We're going to chat through what's happening in agency land and the PR industry generally. I'm just going to ask each of my panellists to introduce themselves. So, Lauren, would you like to kick off?
Hi, I'm Lauren Winter. I'm Global Managing Director of Consumer Culture at FleishmanHillard. I'm also EMEA Head of Brand. So play a few different roles, from a network leader to also working with very big iconic brands and really helping them stay connected across different regions and markets through really culturally attuned campaigns.
Amazing.
I'm David Blois. I'm founder and managing partner of M&A Advisory. We're a M&A firm working just in the sector, the Marcom sector. We have a big focus on a people fit as well as a business fit.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm the co-founder of PRCA. That's a pop cultural speedboat network of 7 agencies across Western Europe countries. Additionally, I'm the founder of Kruger Media. That's an agency based in Berlin. And my profession is telling good stories about pop culture. And that's why we also started Pop Culture Summit last year, which is called Remix. Brought a couple of great speakers from Gucci to Wilson Sports on the table. So that's our story.
Hi, I'm Alistair Kellie, practice head of SEC Newgate UK, also founder of Newgate Communications, which was a composite company that grew into SEC Newgate. My focus is principally corporate communications and corporate affairs advisory in the UK and globally for sort of multi-market deals and campaigns.
Well, thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate it. So let's get started, and I'll start bluntly. I'm going to come to you because you've got the mic. Do PR agencies lead or follow society and markets? What's your take?
I think it'd be pretty arrogant to say that we led the market, but I think that we often form the germ of an idea, and that can be the catalyst for the way that our clients operate and the way that our market behaves. And I think that there's a increasing with the way that the market's changing at the moment, this sort of new era of alignment that we're going through, the changes that are happening geopolitically that are all around us, technological innovation and development. I think that there's a greater role and importance for us now to take an ethical lead and a strong moral lead in the way that we communicate and advise our clients.
Yeah. Lauren, what's the biggest external force disrupting agency models, would you say, right now?
So I guess everyone would say AI, but I actually think it comes back to the creative, the idea. Everyone's in a bit of a tussle of who owns the idea, and then you've got the IAT model. I think that a lot of us are very collaborative. We know how to work with each other in different agencies, but there still seems to be a bit of a push and pull of where the idea comes from and then how it's used across platforms or different channels. And I know it's kind of not be too arrogant to say, can PR lead? But I do think if we were a bit braver on owning paid, we shouldn't be so scared that paid is part of the model and the ecosystem. And if we kind of put our first foot forwards there and talked about that a little bit more, the ideas that we have create such a dialogue that they truly do work above the line and below the line. So, I think we can be a bit braver and kind of, we do understand some of these areas and disciplines, and I think we should present them more to clients in part of our campaigning, part of our planning. I actually think who owns the idea at the moment is part of the disruption, and it's really difficult for clients to understand then where to go.
I think there's increasingly a real demand for strategic thinking from clients. Clients really want to have someone who's going to advise them, and I think that's driven by many of the issues that are happening, ESG, AI to some degree, and also just the sheer speed that the market operates at now. That's a big factor.
Thank you. Let's talk about risk and experimentation. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you think the industry has got a big appetite for it?
Currently, I see that the appetite is lowering down. So, which is, as always, it's kind of a stupid maneuver. So in a moment of crisis or challenges,
so we're reducing our risk because
it's
so
absolutely the wrong
moment.
way. So actually, right now you have to be more riskful, and you see the brands who do it. Like for example, work for T-Mobile, Telecom. So they always try to find new angles of stories and be in certain areas, communities.
Yeah.
That's great. Or another client, for example, Cupra. So how they started the entire company was built on braveness and risk-taking, and that's absolutely what you should do. But the momentum is different.
Okay, so let's keep talking about that then, in terms of where are agencies allocating resources right now, and what does it reveal about priorities? You've kind of touched on it because you've said that you don't think really they're allocating time and energy in the right place, but what are you saying and what are you doing?
The thing is, Lauren is completely right. So I think PR has to be absolutely more brave and more self-confident.
Yeah.
In my opinion, so PR always was in a second row. So compared when in the dialogue to a brand. So you have the advertising agency, they always think, or the media agencies, they always think we are in the lead. And I think PR now has a strong momentum to be the leader in communications.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, so besides PR, I guess we all do social media, we do influencer relations, creator relations, and these are all topics to relate with the public. That's the basic of PR. And if we put it on one umbrella, which is new public relations, let's say it as a working title,
Yeah.
then there's a strong momentum for us, and that's what we try to do, and that will be our narrative for the future.
On that kind of element of risk as well and PR, I think traditionally as well, we manage reputations, and so we can find ourselves sometimes really in a risk-averse place, and we want to we do understand the bigger picture, and we think about all of those elements, but culture is moving without you, and because of digital and social media, you're on the front line. You have to be prepared, but also spontaneous. It's a really difficult challenge. And someone at Tinder yesterday was saying, I can't have all these guardrails around making content. We have to be able to make some mistakes. Yeah. And that was the other thing that I realised. It was actually our Gatorade client yesterday said, it's okay to take risks with your agencies, but you just have to have that relationship. So again, I think sometimes PR, we need to kind of get up and across with the C-suite, with our clients, and really have those relationships so it's comfortable and you don't feel in such a threatened place if you make a mistake, because you have to test and you have to experiment. And then actually, just to add to this, Malcolm Gladwell was just saying, we're not cleverer than we were like 80 years ago, and we won't be, and we don't know what's coming, we don't know the future, so you do just have to go with it a little bit and innovate. And so how do we get braver? And I do think that comes back to the client relationship that we can have at the start.
That's interesting. Can I just come to you, David, in terms of risk
Sure.
and experimentation? Obviously, you're across merger and acquisitions, you see a lot of those discussions, you're in there from the very beginning.
Yes.
Are we getting at all braver in terms of the kind of models that we're building?
I mean, I'd always say that the industry, in terms of M&A, is always quite brave in that it's prepared to actually make acquisitions. So it gets a few brownie points for that. I think where it fails,
the scores up.
where the scores come down a little much further, is about being brave with themselves.
Right.
In actually saying, we've got to change our model, we've got to become more efficient, we've got to become more strategic, we've got to provide real leadership for our clients on a strategy basis. And that's looking at things like insight and foresight and all of these sorts of things. But in terms of the M&A, I think the strategy as far as a PR consultancy is concerned, they've been buying sort of content businesses and SEO, and in a way they've been making they've been strengthening the relationship with their client, which is quite a good strategic move by adding more services to the client. Yeah. But they've not moved upstream enough to the strategic idea.
The consultancy stuff where you're the business partner.
To compete with the main consultancies.
Alistair, if I can come to you. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? What do you think is stopping more agencies from investing in things like data, AI, strategic foresight, those kind of capabilities? Is it budget? Is it culture?
Well, I'd be amazed if they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone should be and is surely doing that. And I think, maybe there is budget in some cases in terms of the speed they're doing it. I think, David made the point about the focus on the strategic, and I think that's what we're seeing, what we're focused on. Making sure that we are seen as corporate affairs advisors, that you have all the tools, you have all the capabilities below, but the only way that we as an industry are going to be taken seriously is if we have the insight, we have the data and the ability then to advise at a local and a geopolitical level to actually help clients see around those corners. And I think there are probably some C-suites at the moment who are sitting there thinking, why was I advised to focus so hard on D&I, on ESG? Why didn't they warn me about what was coming around the corner with Trump? Well, many people did, many firms did, and I think there's actually also, danger that we row back, and we've got to hold our line, and we're getting into dangerous and interesting territory here, but we've got to make sure we hold our line as an industry on some of the things that are important.
It's back to the bravery, and we've heard the word bravery and courage quite a lot already today, and I think that's really interesting. That strategic capacity, the foresight thing for me is really interesting. As an industry, you can get quite caught up with tools. I think we sometimes get distracted with tools. Do we think, are we mistaking operational efficiency tools for innovation? I mean, how do we distinguish between transformation and tech toys?
Everyone is focused on the on the operational bit at the moment, I think, and none of us know. People way more informed than I and us probably have sort of made predictions about where AI is going to go and what it's going to do for us, and we're just we're in the foothills, aren't we? Yeah. And there's going to be so much innovation that will come. I agree. I think it's operationally focused at the moment.
Have you got anything to add? Would you like to?
Yeah. So the basic thing, I believe you can run a company with an Excel sheet. So a little bit old days, but saying that, I'm really reluctant to bring new tools into the agency, because some of the tools really are actually bringing you to the contrary, because it's time consuming to introduce new
test, experiment,
test,
implement,
and bring
execute.
the people to execute. And people usually only understand 50% of what the tool can do.
Yeah. Or they're only using 10%, if that. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You buy a big tool and everybody's using 3%
but that
of
said,
its capability.
we're using tons of tools. Yeah. So we just bought Inflow Data. That's a tool for, as the name says, you get researches on creators, influencers, actually in a minute. So if you want to run a creator relations campaign or influential relations campaign and have to check if this influencer, creator or celebrity fits your brand, we can have this data within actually a minute.
Yeah.
So, and this is really helpful for us. We're, of course, when it's the right tool for the right benefit, then it really then it's a speed up for the agency or for the industry.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to add to the comments already. I think the thing that's holding people, the industry back, is mindset, really and truly. It's that the tools are available, the opportunities are available with clients to really help them strategically. But I think something like AI, it needs a lot of senior management attention. And the managers and the senior managers just aren't ready to do that. It's such a powerful strategic tool rather than just an operational tool. But I think a lot of agencies are just using it as a sort of an operational tool at the moment.
Well, I was with an ex-client of mine yesterday, a big tech music giant, and they had a point of view on this, which is kind of like, they were like, I don't want to adopt any more tools. And actually, I think everyone's a bit tooled out. And as agencies, we're used to creating them.
Put the tools down.
Yeah.
Everybody put the tools down.
Using them, they become IP, they become our kind of distinct point of view as well. But the rate that they're innovating themselves, these tools, and changing and giving us information, we're getting to a place where we're going to have to update them constantly and then train staff. And then if you're trying to kind of sell them to clients, a lot of the clients I'm seeing now, they're getting them in-house and then they're actually wanting to stick with what they've got and then more train their in-house teams to do it. Yeah. So then what's the balance of us with clients? Like, we're putting a lot of energy into, and we do need to kind of upskill our own juniors, but how do we actually just have more of a partnership with clients on what they've already got and then just focus more on the content and the work?
Rather than doing proprietary stuff and trying to flog it on, actually talking to them about what they've got and how you can maximise that with them. Yeah. That's interesting now.
And make it better over the years.
Let's talk about talent and leadership then, just while I've got you. Are we, as agencies, cultivating the kind of talent that we need for the next decade with the right skill set, or are we hiring for yesterday's job descriptions?
So, I actually, I'm part of a network agency, a big agency, and with that becomes a lot of opportunities, I think, where you get the benefits of, the parent company investing, and they invest in training and getting all of those elements in. So I do think there's a real, from what I've seen, focus on updating that. I always think this for a lot of juniors who joined PR like 5 years ago, it must be really tough. Like, you had to learn how to write a press release and speak to journalists, and neither of those things matter as much anymore. And suddenly, you know, how do you write a really great piece of video content and even maybe produce it as a junior and in real time? They're really, really different skills. So there's got to be an element for the juniors of curiosity. I think we've all got to be learning. But I think for any business, I think the risk would be to be focused so much on operations and the Excels and the spreadsheets that you forget about the talent. Because yes, we can automate a lot, but not at the expense of the creative or the good idea or the cultural insight. It will always, in my opinion, need humans to lead that and lead that process. So during this change, we've all got to be careful that we don't lose the really good talent that makes those things work well for a client. Otherwise, they're just dormant things.
So on that then, how do we balance short-term pressure with longer-term investment in terms of learning and development, particularly in the leaders that we want, the leaders of the future?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because I think everyone's very heads down and quite immediate. I mean, it's funny, for me this year, I've noticed a lot more kind of fear in all of the talks. Sometimes, you know, I think it's been a bit more gun-ho, but a lot more reservation. And I think the thing, as a leader, that you have to take out of it is you've still got to somehow show the bigger picture. And all you can, you know, the one thing we know that for certain is that change is the one constant we can rely on. So we just have to keep taking those little steps every day to innovate, show we're progressing, show we're moving. And I think that helps the kind of juniors as well, like hum along that journey with you. But it is hard at the moment. It's hard to predict, like, this is what it will look like next year. I think that used to feel easier. So it is a bit of a crossroads, I think, right now. But I think all you can do is push on through.
I mean, I agree. You really need culturally aware, tech-smart people. And probably very adaptive people, which may be different to the people you're recruiting on the basis of a CV these days. And in terms of rewarding them, in terms of incentives, I think you've got to take a long-term view, and I think you've got to try and move the consultancy upstream and align all of those incentives so that if the consultancy is going to do well and it's sort of moving upstream to become more of a strategic consultancy, you reward people accordingly for growing with it.
Love that. So that everybody's invested and they've got a reason to keep really striving. Okay.
Yeah, what we do is since 2 years we have a partnership with a marketing university in Berlin called Macromedia, and we try to find for every semester with these students a special topic, if it's podcast, pop culture, whatever, and this is our best talent source. Because we have real contact to the people, we're working with them, we are partnered during...
So you find your pipeline from doing that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And there's some great young Gen Z talents, and then, as you said, it's also the mindset of the leaders. Do I give them, or do I trust them that they can run a campaign, or try to and give some ideas and throw it into the pool? So that's the one thing. And the other thing is we believe in collaboration. So we always try to find for things so I know what we can, I know what we are not good in. Yeah. And so then we try to find freelancers or other partner agencies and plug the cultural fit or the expertise fit in that case. Coming to the agency and your hirings, we're always trying to find people who are actually not doing what we are doing. So we try to find always new people to bring more background into the agency, which we all can benefit from.
Okay, Alistair.
I think the talent bit is so interesting at the moment. We've just commissioned or completed a study, we call it PR 2030, where we've asked our colleagues around the world, sort of 1,500 colleagues, to participate in what they think the future of the industry is going to be at every level in terms of tech, in terms of talent, and everything in between, and where we're going. And I mean, for a start, it's been a fascinating moment to sit back and think about what actually is going on beyond your day-to-day client life. And I think, pretty obvious, but there are a number of conclusions, some of which are that we need to blend creativity with tech, with AI literacy, with the data analytics ability. There's got to be that blend, pretty much as David was saying.
Culturally aware, tech adaptive.
Culturally aware, and that's crucial. And effectively to sort of have organizational strategists combined with communications technologists. And that's sort of where we think our industry could really go, and it could be quite exciting. And I think that, that junior people, Lauren talked about sort of junior folk coming in, we've got to make sure we keep that pipeline of talent going. Okay, where they're going to start is going to be very different to where we started our careers, and the types of jobs that they do are already very different.
Unrecognisable, I would say.
Unrecognisable, and they're basically they're going to be analysts, they're going to be data analysts, they're going to be prompters perhaps, but they've got to also have that creativity. They've got to be able to write, they've got to be able to edit, they've got to do so many things. I mean, it's I think it's becoming a more exciting industry to come into, perhaps. So I'm positive and optimistic
on that
for the future.
then, all this change, I mean, as you said, change is the only constant right now. What does this mean for our leadership? And our agency heads ready? Are we primed? Are we grabbing the opportunity?
So I think, like leaders in every industry, it's actually a very stressful time. I think that actually is there's pressures coming in, there's information, data, challenges coming in from every direction. There's an awful lot. There is the talent transformation and trying to be ahead of it. So I think I think it's a tough time, and I don't think everyone's ready. No, I think we've all got it. We're all running pretty quickly to catch up.
Yeah. So to what extent do we think these commercial models are also holding us back? We've got billing structures, retainers, campaign cycles. Are they stopping us evolving? I think there's an element of that, arguably.
Yes. Yeah, if you're billing time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not the value.
If you're billing time, not value. I think you have to move to a value-based pricing.
Yeah. We're way away from that as an industry. I mean, where do you see that? I mean, crisis management maybe. Yeah. Public affairs probably do that very well.
Yeah.
I don't think we see that. Financial comms,
Yeah, it should be based on outcomes, not outputs. And if ideally they should be business outcomes rather than just sort of PR metrics as well.
Yeah, and I mean, are we still too busy chasing media coverage? I mean, is that part of the problem? Well, we should be maybe. We talked about strategic influence. I think we're kind of
I agree, and
I
do want to come back to your point as well, though, about talent, just quickly, because I think that's so true around what you need almost in one person is now so many more things than a lot of leaders are even used to themselves. That adaptive quality that you have to have the IQ, EQ, and now the kind of AQ, and you've got to be this kind of technologist and creative, and the ability for someone to have all of those things is tough. And then when you also look at specialists, clients also then sometimes just want somebody who's really single-minded and knows one thing brilliantly. So as a leader, how you balance those people coming together? But look, on the point specifically around metrics, I actually do think as an industry we got a bit obsessed with volume and like how many people have seen this, and we've all sat in those meetings. We said like 20 billion people saw this times 3.5, and
Alec would have a viewpoint on this.
And it's kind of, we've got to move from like have they seen this to have they felt this. We've been looking at, is this a brand for me? And if people think that, they're 3 times more likely to buy you. So I think we know those metrics have shifted. Are we doing it quickly enough? Are we really pushing with clients to say, look, we've got to be looking at a new way of measuring? I think we need to get faster at doing that because it's changed.
Yeah, I just definitely think those metrics ought to be based on outcomes rather than outputs, for sure.
Lauren, you kind of touched on this as well. Are these structures that we're working within enabling integration across earned, shared, owned? Are we still operating in silos? You kind of talked about not quite bringing everything in. So is that something that you see?
So I know at Fleischmann we've made a kind of effort to break down a lot of practices. I think they really built up in a lot of places. I think the need to have specialists and then a big volume of that in one place and to manage some hefty kind of client needs. But where you look at even the distinction between corporate and brand, the integrated mindset that you need. You know, if you're a brand person, you're mainly dealing with, you know, a political mindset of a young person, which will get you into issues, and then the cost of a tariff on a trainer. You're not just this pure play pop culture person when you're consulting a client. So brand and corporate means something that it's a lot closer together. So how agencies set themselves up for that leadership for a client that, again, offers more on the front line without saying, I'm going to bring in another 8 people, because clients don't have the time and they can't afford it. So, you know, budgets also aren't what they were. So I think, again, agencies are definitely remodeling. I think we're definitely seeing less practices. We're definitely seeing less silos. But how you manage the specialist mindset, which we know isn't gone away, is, again, a bit of a crossroads, I'd say, for us. And
what we're trying to do is mimic the corporate affairs person in-house. So that head of corporate affairs, they're covering everything from, you know, corporate communications through to internal comms, through to IR, through to sustainability, ESG, whatever, everything. I mean, it's a hell of a job, the head of corporate affairs. And so what we're trying to do is be that advisor across those different areas. So as Lauren was saying, that breaking down of the silos. So for instance, my practice is 70 people, spans financial advisory, corporate communications, and B2C communications. Within that, there's ESG and IR and everything else. You know, so that's just one area. And, you know, we have to also have the specialists. And so that may be on a sector basis. That may be a financial communications specialist who understands the UK flotation rules, listing rules. So, you know, it is this blend of kind of integrated specialist and then that top cover corporate advisory. And there's a lot. And then all of that's got to be fed by data and insight in order to help you to formulate the best strategy and then to measure it, as David said, and completely agree, outcomes, not outputs. And your original question, Sarah, was around are we to focus on media relations? Yes.
Yeah.
But
still a bit
that's
of an
because
obsession,
many clients are as well.
Yeah.
But it's not dead. Media relations isn't dead.
It never will die,
10 years ago, we said it was dead. We turned to content. Media relations came back. It's just harder to get that earned content.
So we as an agency, we don't work in silos any longer. So we had a social media team, we had a PR team, we had a creative team, not longer existing. So it's all one based on the client needs. But the problem, let's say the problem, is the client. So is the client ready for not working in silos?
Got you.
And and we have some, so you only can talk to the PR person in the company. And that's our biggest challenge, how we explain to the client to work in a different way. And it's moving forward, but it really depends on the client, what's the background from. So if they're coming from the entertainment world, that works pretty well. So, but on the other side, so we have some Chinese clients. It's really silo social, silo online marketing, and that's really difficult. So what we try is, what we generally do is a lot of conversations with the clients even before we start the project, that we really understand the mindset of the company, if they work in silos or not, and maybe we come first with an offer for public relations, or we come first with an offer only for social media, and then when you build a trusted relationship with your client and say, hey, you're also doing creative relations, can we do it and book it from your agency? That's pretty good. And the other thing, what I wanted to add, so we as an agency, we come from the pop music world, so we never tracked hours. For 20 years, we never tracked hours. It was flat retainer, good relationship, fun, good results. And then 4 years ago, we started tracking hours. And I said, no, don't do it. But it was pretty good to do it. And now we want to be, next year we want to get rid of tracking hours. And ideally, I think some of you also do this versioning style. So we try to give our clients 3 versions. For example, for some Chinese clients, the basic, hey, we have that amount of money, what can we get? It's the really old style results, coverage, 10 tier 1 coverage. So the really traditional thing. but you can develop together. And the other clients will give, oh, here, this is the premium package, don't care about hours, and you get the best results.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Go on, David.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think that's a really good. What you're doing is excellent in breaking down the silos, and I guess the ultimate test of that is where the client doesn't even notice. But
yeah, I think what's really interesting as well in terms of wanting to provide business intelligence. I don't think, I mean, we're talking around the table, clearly we all operate in that space. What's the barrier to agencies offering business intelligence, that kind of strategic advisory role? Is it skills gaps? Is it access to data? Is it mindset?
So I think, like you said, it's a lot about mindset. And what I just said about us, so we come from a totally different world. So it's,
and I think that's interesting, having come from a completely different industry, a very different approach.
Yeah, so it's as I said, it's a kind of transformation. So for 20 years we never tracked it, but made good business. Yeah. And by right now, and what I said earlier, so I believe in this Excel idea, but it needs today to really have the answers for a client wants. It needs a lot of investment in business intelligence. Yeah. And the thing is, it makes your job much quicker on the one side, much better.
And you get better outcomes.
Yeah, and you can, and so it's also some old stuff, but in the presentations for the clients about the results in the reporting, if you have these figures in there, nicely operated and visually good done, then business intelligence and have some strategy points always is pretty convincing. So
I mean, our clients are ready to buy that business intelligence for us. I mean, that's the thing, is that do they see us as credible in that space?
I think that was the point I was going to make, actually. I think is that it's a mixture of all three. You've got to have the data and insights, you've got to have the mindset, you've also got to have the people, and you lose total credibility as a business if you're trying to advise. You've got a 22-year-old, and I've had a 22-year-old who's tried to advise a client stepping beyond themselves on something, and the CEO's called me up saying, why is he giving me advice? On what basis? And I said, I'm very sorry, he's very enthusiastic, can't fault him. The guy, and the client, luckily I had a good enough relationship with him. He said, look, I love his enthusiasm, but you don't take advice from someone, our industry
doesn't. It's like when you go to the doctor and they're young enough to be your son. It's like disconcerting, right?
We're not lawyers. We're not accountants. We don't go through all the exams and all the different levels to get to where we are. Our experience, our advice is based on experience. Yeah. And you can blow that credibility quite quickly. So I think you put yourself up, and as an agency and as an individual, if you have something worthwhile to say and you think that it can be, you can provide good advice. Otherwise, they should be turning to another business advisor. We got to know our lane slightly. It's back to arrogance.
Yeah, it's a good point. Let's talk about value, because you've talked about moving from a time billing concept to value proposition. How do we demonstrate value? What do you see as what value to clients means? I mean, what do you think?
I think one of the ways to look at it really is through the lens of the business. So they've got to be business values. What's the revenue of has the revenue of the client improved over the years? How is the brand value of the client, or the perception of the brand? A lot of this is sometimes some is difficult to measure, others is easier to measure. But I think that's what you've got to focus on, and that's where this strategic approach comes in. But as I say, it's the time you have to focus on these areas, and that's where the industry is going. And I think that's what clients really want as well. They need that help.
Value. Lauren, what does value mean to you?
I think part of it was what I was saying earlier about understanding how a client, what's their relationship with a consumer and how they're going to really feel about it. So again, moving away from some of those metrics. But the other thing it struck me as we were talking is we talk a lot about our setup in terms of how it works for clients, but it's actually just as important as how it works with other agencies. I do really think there's a place for all agencies. We grow up in a different discipline. You just instinctively know what's going to work below the line or above the line. However, I think our value can come from clients of understanding more, and those blurred lines between paid, affiliate marketing, digital PR, like how we come together and build a campaign. I think gone are the days, well, I say gone, they still exist, but clients were, having 25 agencies, they're not going to get the best from anybody. But them having 4 amazing agencies that work together and kind of speak a common language to some degree, I think that is where real value can come. And the other thing, just in terms of, setup and, the specialists versus sectors and what a client needs, I do think a bit of a silver bullet at the moment is like an integrated media person who again can understand those blurred lines, a little bit where things are going, that difference between earned but content and paid. I think having them always on the front line, I think that's huge value to clients. And then how you tie that into measurement, obviously, is really key.
Do we still need to move away from vanity metrics? I still think we see those, they're quite prevalent. I mean, I think that's still a big problem, that we're actually creating that challenge.
I think
We need to be a bit bolder.
Yeah, the best value what you can give is what Lauren is in. So you're into culture, we're into culture. And I think the new value is that we give the clients that we show them that there's new ways of storytelling within cultures, within communities, are much more effective than the old standards. So together, as I said, 10 tier 1 coverage within a month.
Yeah.
So these long-standing.
I hear that all the time still.
So these long-building community associations, relationships with a cool, great community, being part of a culture and really enabling a culture. This adds much more value to a brand than the traditional ways. And I think that what you guys do amazingly well, and we're also pretty good in that. And this is the new thing, what we have to convince the client that cultural marketing, community, and also this word which has, in my opinion, undergone a little bit of a go down, purpose. So it's still keep to purpose. Purpose sells. So that's my...
Let's talk about purpose in a slightly different way. How do you think agencies are navigating rising ethical pressures associated with AI use, purpose washing? We do see a lot of purpose washing.
I mean, it's such a big and complex topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole roundtable just on this and keep going.
I think very briefly, I think that agencies have got to have their own purpose and be true and understand what their purpose is and what their own sort of direction and North Star is, and then we've got to be very clear on how we're advising our clients. And obviously, everything that's gone on in the US is blowing a lot of things in one direction. Will it come back, or when will it come back? There's an interesting panel yesterday apparently with the CEO of one of our biggest agencies that sounded like it was a Trumpian soapbox, which was quite alarming, I think, for some people. And I think that we still got to stand. It comes back to the ethics and being guardians of truth, arbiters of truth. We've got to stick to our North Star and
We've
help
got to
our
counter
clients.
Misinformation when we see it. It's a responsibility of ours.
We're getting onto another whole one there. That's a huge role that we have. And if we're
reputation guardians, though, it's
totally reputation guardians.
Yeah.
That was one of the fundamentals from our PR 2030 report. Is that's going to be our core role. There's going to be continued distrust in media. And the Gen whatever we're up to now, and the next one, they're going to increasingly lose trust in media. So we need to be arbiters of truth, both directly and via our clients, and help our clients to be that. So I think there's a lot that we need to. So
you would totally agree that we need to take a stand on geopolitical and social issues. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who will say no, we should be neutral.
I'm not sure we should take a stand.
Is it controversial?
I think you've got to know what your position is as a firm, and if clients don't want to work with you because of your position, so be it.
Yeah.
I just think
you'll attract the people who do want that.
You attract the people to, and our big competitor, great. If they're going for the Trump MAGA clients, lock themselves out.
Yeah. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I fully agree. So, we're the agencies can just create trust. So be the guardian or create it. So that's one thing. And from my personal perspective, I absolutely say what my political opinion is on LinkedIn, on socials, and also we as an agency, we for example, coming back to recruiting, so our wording is be as you are, and be as you maybe want to be in the future. So we engage people to develop whatever they want to be.
Yeah.
So we all don't
Dress
know.
for the role you want.
Yes, so we don't know that. And from us as an agency, we encourage it. And as you said, so if you're in Germany, we have this new this right-wing party, AfD. So never would ever work with people who support this party. And that's what I'm here for. So I believe in trust and a free world. So no centimeter for Mr. Trump.
Understood. David, what's your view? Do you think agencies should have a view perspective?
Yes, I think they should. I mean, I think if you're the guardian of the client's reputation, you should be able to advise that client if they're going in the wrong direction, if they're purpose washing or doing other things like that. You should be able to call that out and advise them. And again, that's probably talking about strategic advice rather than sort of time billing.
What does let's go on to you kind of mentioned it there in terms of thinking ahead. What does a future-ready agency look like in terms of structure and skills and mindset? You know, if you were to build the agency of the future, what is that?
I always feel the agency of the future. I'd probably just hire lots of young people and I'd let them tear up the rule book, throw out all the things that we can't let go of as businesses, that we rely on, all the legacy, all the structural things that are holding us back. I think younger people are just so much more at one with digital and with doing things in an easier way. They do things smarter, not harder. And I also, the kind of climate of understanding how they like to work, and they're driven by different things than we were.
Do we think that we're seeing some exhaustion? I'm going to throw this one in the mix. I mean, the tech demands as such. When I'm doing some exec coaching, and one of the things that comes up all the time is that cognitive switching, that constant online responsiveness. I'm seeing a lot of burnout, and that's coming thick and fast.
I think young people are savvy with digital, and they adopt it. It's part of their lives, but they're also happy to switch off and have a bit of freedom.
We need to let them lead it though, because I think part of the issue is the leadership on that.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Take a slightly different view to Lauren on the talent. I had this conversation with my group chief exec on Friday, in fact, last Friday. And I think we would go, and possibly I'm maybe aligned with David on this, speaking for you, but probably for more, say, if we're going percentages, 30%, 40% of senior advisors, and then you're probably looking at sort of 20%, 30% of the kind of that cohort of project managers, native, tech native.
Smart.
And then you've got the junior talent coming through, that 10, 20%. You've probably got an arbitrary, he said 10% operations and finance. I said absolutely not. That's where AI is going to make some savings. He scowled. So I think that we still have to have that high end. And maybe it's a reflection of the different areas that we work in, that you need more of the tech native and more of that talent, whereas we're looking at having, we've got to have more of the advisory. No, exactly.
If you were starting an agency from scratch tomorrow, what would you do differently? I mean, you have done something different. You came from a completely different industry and you built what you wanted in the way you saw it. You had a certain vision. Is there anything else you'd do differently now?
So I have an idea for a new agency.
Oh, okay. Let's feel it. Tell us more. Yeah.
I tell you. No, the thing is, sometimes we got people who are applying for a job at our agency, but they are not that capable of the German language, which is in Germany, I think in other countries too, still a problem. And there are people from Ukraine, Russia, Spain, with a tremendous background. And what I would love, if somebody would invest in it, I would create a new agency out of the 10 best applications of these people.
Amazing.
And to create a really international superpower agency of people from Ukraine, Spain, and maybe Bangladesh or whatever. So we've got some great applications.
And across every time zone.
Yes. So that is my love agency. That would it be?
Well, I think that's a really good idea, because I mean, what you're doing, and what I would do is I would focus on problems. Where there's a problem, I'd start an agency.
Yeah.
So there's this excess
Solving
of quality people, So then you can create an agency out of them, and there'd be people wanting to use those people. And those people would probably be really tech smart. They would be really culturally aware, and they would have a very strategic focus. So I'd be really, again, focusing on outcomes rather than outputs. So and that would be the nature of it. The other thing I'd say from an M&A point is that agency must really be certain. It's got to be a machine that attracts really good business in, because I do find that is, as an M&A firm, that is a weakness. Brands aren't as strong, agencies aren't as good at their own marketing as they work as they do for their clients. So I think that would be my agency.
I think you've kind of answered the question a little bit, but so what does, say 5 years' time, does success look like for public relations agencies? Who won't make it? I mean, I know you've talked about that strategic piece.
Mic drop would be that we don't talk about PR. I just think, I'm sorry.
But we keep talking about strategic advisory. It's come up a million times already. We've got management firms encroaching on our space. My view is we have to push back harder.
We have to push back
We
harder.
need to
It
be in
comes
the
back.
risk
It comes
area.
back to
Risk and resilience.
the people that you hire, starting the agency of the future. I think we've got to get more people and hire more people from outside of our industry in order to bring that wider business advisory perspective, and I think there probably will be more of that. And then the people coming in, all sorts of different ways you can hire really interesting talent, and that, as we were saying, Lauren, getting that blend of creative versus data. I mean, that's a gem of a person you're trying to hire.
Yeah.
And you've got to recruit in the right way. In terms of who's going to survive, I mean, I personally think that the specialist agencies, it's that continued thing of the specialist agencies will continue to have a role.
Smaller regional specialists doing really well
and then
right now.
the big global majors who are going to have
Agency by
the
agency
opportunity to, and the money and the talent to flex to the changing world and to adopt the technology. So as has always been the case in our industry, I think it's a squeezed middle that will continue to struggle. Either they've got to get up or continue
And that's
to
a really
specialise.
hard battle. Yeah.
I suppose that, given what I've said, the ones that are going to survive are the strategic ones, and I
Yeah.
think our industry blends culture, technology, strategy, and creativity. I think that's the area where we've got an advantage over the management consultancies. I think they're the people that are going to do well. I think the ones that are not going to do well are those very tactical businesses that can be commoditised.
The commoditisation is thick and fast at the moment. It's a real struggle. I'm going to go to final question. I'm going to ask all of you, that's all right. Lauren, I'll start with you. What's the hard truth the industry still doesn't want to admit, and what happens if we continue to ignore it? I know that's a big one.
I do think it comes back to a little bit of the word PR. It sometimes is a bit of a dirty word, and I think we are not very good at admitting when it's holding us back. And so really stepping into the communications element of it. I mean, PR at its heart, what we do, relevancy, reputation, that's actually not going to go away. So it shouldn't be a dirty word because there's a lot of value in it. But I think the thing that will hold us back is not stepping into understanding more of the ecosystem and being braver about it. And, again, I come back to this risk piece. I'm very risk averse, and actually I always say, is there a way that we can give clients the confidence to take the right risk? Because you have to be brave, you have to say something. We're in an era of like slop, the beige buffet of content, just hitting metrics and numbers.
Yeah.
Someone yesterday actually said, is it less is more, or is more is more? And I was like, oh, that's quite a good question, but we have to really navigate through that with clients, stick to our purpose. I love this, be as you are. I think that, being really truthful about your proposition, what you can offer clients, but really progress with channel, platforms, paid, and stepping into that and being partnered with other agencies. I think that's how we will succeed.
Thanks.
Be brave, reinvent your business, be more strategic, and thirdly is treat your own brand, like your very best client.
Oh, I like that. Treat your own brand that way. And I also love the words that you used earlier. You both used courageous, curious. I think curious and adaptive. we need to do more of that, and that's perhaps a hard truth that we're just not acknowledging.
My advice would be collaborate. So that's what we do on the one side with PRE, but also in Berlin. So I'm meeting a lot of other agency founders, CEOs, and we share knowledge, how we tackle brands, how everyone is working on recruiting. So share knowledge, collaborate, because when you're stuck in your own silo and talk to nobody, you don't learn, and then you're gone. So you have to constantly learn, anticipate what is the future, what are the client needs, and if you're working on that one, you're going to be strong. Otherwise, you're gone.
Excellent.
And I think, listen, as I mentioned our PR 2030 initiative. We found that so interesting to listen and hear what our colleagues are saying. And the next stage of that is at the moment, talking to clients and sort of bouncing some of our findings off them, and then collaborate. And I think everyone has said all the other points, but for PR, I think read publicity in terms of the general public. They just think, I'm afraid, some of the negatives of our industry, and we need to just take that step up. We're all trying to, but it's hard. I think for some agencies are going to struggle to be a strategic advisor. You can't just suddenly be strategic, become strategic.
Yeah.
Some will be stuck in that tactical era and area, and they were the ones that will probably struggle. But I'm optimistic for the future overall.
Good way to end. Thank you. Alistair, Michael, David, Lauren, thank you very much for sharing your time, knowledge and insights today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.